When strange and terrifying forces mount in the Savage Lands, it's going to be up to some savage heroes to save the day. All this and more in Savage Avengers issue number 2. Let's hop on it together and find out what happens next, shall we? Alrighty then, so this issue opens up with a little bit of backstory on the Priest of Sickles, the villain we saw kidnapping innocent people and heroes alike in the previous issue. It turns out during World War II, this guy was a Nazi fighter pilot, who after getting shot down by Allied forces ended up falling through a magic portal to the Savage Lands. It's there he met the man who would be his evil sensei, Kulan Gath, a dark wizard with a fairly interesting history. He was a villain to Conan over in the Dynamite books, as well as a villain to Conan in the early Marvel stories too. Ain't that fun? As we discover, Gath actually had a bunch of students, but the Priest of Sickles is the only one who survived into the modern day, probably because he was just so damn evil. Now, back in the present, Wolverine is still desperately trying to save the life of Jericho, aka Brother Voodoo, who had his guts cut open in the previous issue so his blood could feed the blood pool to resurrect the Marrow God. Now Logan might be the best in the world at what he does, but what he does is certainly not heart surgery, and unfortunately Jericho needs to have his heart put back in his body if he wants to live. With time ticking and few options left, Logan decides to just wing it. He knows he's not Brother Voodoo's blood type, but he figures his blood is high-octane healing factor mutant blood, so he should just pour some in the wound and hope for the best. The crazy part is, this totally works. Now, at the other end of the Savage Land, Conan the Barbarian is doing what Conan do, mainly trying to get himself some sick-ass loot bra off the body of the dead wizard. Turns out he's not dead at all, though. He was just resting. Kulan Gath totally recognizes Conan the Barbarian, too, even before he probes his mind for information about the world in which he came from. The wizard might have been able to kill our hero, too, were it not for the fact that Conan had a quote-unquote genie lamp right next to him. It wasn't actually, it was just a box that happened to be containing the symbiote. I say symbiote and not venom because when the wizard blasts the suit, it appears to be just that. Eddie Brock isn't inside it, which, man, you know what? Good on you, Jerry Duggan, for paying such close attention to continuity. The Venom symbiote and Eddie Brock aren't together right now in that book. Of course, that does end up begging a much bigger question, I hope, that gets answered, mainly why is the symbiote in the Savage Lands right now, and why was the wizard keeping it all bottled up? Now, even though Wolverine was able to resuscitate Brother Voodoo, they're still horribly outmatched right now by all of the hand ninjas. Then the magic guy shows up and they're really boned. In fact, they turn poor Wolverine into one giant arrow pincushion just to add injury to insult, and also probably more injury too. In fact, they might very well have finished our heroes off right here, right now, and added them to the blood pool were it not for the intervention of the Punisher. The ninjas had stolen his family's corpses in the previous issue, and now Frank has come looking for revenge, packed with more C4 than my pre-workout. That is a very funny supplement joke. I will wait for you all to Google it, then laugh. And so that was Savage Avengers issue number 2, everybody, and much like I said in my review of issue number 1, this isn't exactly a deep or complex story, but it's not really trying to be. Duggan is, however, doing some very admirable work getting the Conan mythos to really jive with what's going on in the rest of Marvel right now. And if we can have Gath in this story, there's no telling where else they might go and what other characters they might pull up. I'm not exactly sure who owns the right to Thulsa Doom, but you know they're probably keeping that in their back pocket. Everyone else is pretty enjoyable too. It's a team book where they really haven't hit home the whole, team dynamic yet, but I'm sure that's coming. There's some interesting avenues they could take here. Overall, I'd give this a 7.
Oh, hey there, didn't see you come in. I'm Cape Joel. Thanks so much for watching to the end of the video. I'm just hanging out here trying to figure out how to keep these intros fresh and interesting for everybody. Like the video, that would be nice. I'd appreciate it, but I'm not going to push you to do it. You can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you can keep up to date on what I'm doing next. I have an Instagram. I feel like I don't push the Instagram enough, but I have it. I have a backup gameplay channel as well. I get the feeling people who watch my comic content don't really want to watch me play video games. At least that's what the numbers would tell me. But it's the Joel Daily channel. You can also see me play games live on the Cape Joel Twitch. I got a tip jar down there. I got a Patreon page. Got an Amazon wish list. Some of you are really nice to do that for me. That's where I get fun, cool sweaters like this off my Amazon wish list. I appreciate the people who do that. It's really nice of them. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Man, it's hard to try and keep these outros fresh sometimes, I tell you. But thanks again for watching, and I'll be back again later, just smacking those comics up, man. Just doing it. did I call it Comic Smack because I make the smack sound, or am I saying that comics are my addiction and that's why it's Comic Smack? I dropped the Comic Smack after a bit because the channel is called Cape Joel. I should really have called it all Comic Smack from the beginning of it. Oh, well, hindsight's 20/20. Goodbye, everyone.